Hey guys, it's Pi, and it's a bit of a special video today because this is the first time we've ever been in Lumber Tycoon. If you guys have been following me on Roblox, I've been playing, oh my goodness, so much Lumber Tycoon recently. I've been playing it more than Tradelands, and I've been addicted to it. It's a lot of fun. As you see, this is my base. I got a pretty steady operation going on, but this is not the reason why I'm making this episode. Today is Thanksgiving Day, so I thought I'd treat you guys with a treat. And this is a one-of-a-kind machine that I made in Lumber Tycoon. This was the first big thing I decided to make, and it's not an auto trimmer, or I mean auto chopper. So this will not chop your wood, your unmilled wood. But what it will do is this machine will take planks like this that you've already cut at the 2:1 ratio. That would be x2y1. I'll show you why that has to be in a second. And it'll let you cut it to any building size you want, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And this is important because when you're building with blueprints, you see everything has a wood required number. This is also the same of the amount of studs in each piece of wood. This is something I pre-cut, and I believe this is 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 4s. Now the machine is a pretty simple process, and I'll show you guys how to make it earlier in a very simple manner. And I've tweaked it a little bit since I took those pictures that I'll show you in a little bit. But for the most part, the design is exactly the same. So as you see, when we go to try and make 4s, the saws come down, 2 saws, and then the saws come back up, and then the hatch opens, and the wood will be on its way. Sometimes you have to move it because that's Lumber Tycoon 2 physics. But this piece of wood is special because if I go and make a size, I call it size 8, but wood required 8 thingy, and I take this piece of wood and I put that right there, 50%. 50%. With this number, you can do anything. This is a size 4. We can make this a size 2, we can make this a size 6, we can make it a size 8, and with the other counterpart we just put in there, we get ourselves our own piece of wood with absolutely nothing wasted. Nothing at all. Why is this important? This big giant machine, why do I keep saying machine? I'm going crazy today. This big giant foundation for my big giant base I'm making, it takes a lot of wood, and this is birch wood, so it's not super rare, but it's still a hassle to get to, and when you chop down a tree, it's not very big. I put all of this together in a matter of hours without wasting hardly any wood. So I'll teach you guys how to make this. It's called an auto trimmer. The basis is that you put wood in here, and it'll perform an operation using one of these saws into either size 2, size 4, size 6, or size 8. Blue wood isn't ready. I'll experiment with this with a little bit to show you just how useful this can be. So you can chop your wood into size 2, size 4, size 6, size 8 with this design, or you could chop it into, heck, I don't know, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, any even number you want. It just depends on the amount of saws you want and the amount of wiring you have to do, because it is quite a bit with 4, but it's pretty simple process. It's just a lot of AND gates because that's how logic systems work. So if you guys have been watching me on Twitter, because I post a lot of things on Twitter, you know that this screenshot right here, this was the first beta design for my saw. And before I did this, I had a version 1, which was a time-based system, which meant that if something came into the system, then it would be on a timer before the saws would come down. And that is not a very good system because if there's any lag in the server, it does not work very well. So this system, very simple, you see here. Very simple. Very simple. And to be honest, you don't need as elaborate of a system as mine because I just want that extra manual control. This is originally designed by me, so, you know, if there are flaws, please tell me. I've been trying to fix a lot of them. For the most part, though, the machine's been working great, and I've been able to build up my base very quickly. So the basics of it is that this would be the detector in the... This would be the detector that would activate the saws. So that would represent this detector right here on a belt. And you can also use lasers, but I use detectors because I want to be able to control different types of wood, and using detectors are slightly cheaper than lasers. And this detector, it has two wires that come out of it. One of them goes into an AND gate, and one of them goes into an inverter and a 1-pulse delay. What this does is it makes, when a wood is detected, instead of making it a constant signal, what it does is it makes it a single pulse, and that's important for the sustain down here. Now this lever is the master control. So that would be this right here. And 2, 4, 6, 8, anything you want. Right there, even numbers. Just depends on the amount of saws you want. And also, when you put it in, make sure it's straight, because sometimes it will decide to not cut quite the right way. But it's pretty accurate with what it does. So here's another test with a different kind of wood. It works with any kind of wood as long as it's milled in the 2xy1. Going back to the picture, this is the master control. It goes into another AND gate, and what an AND gate does, this is a logic system. It's the same thing as redstone if you've ever played Minecraft. I'm sure most of you had no idea what redstone used for, but logic systems is a way to produce a task based on an on or off principle. And an AND gate takes, if two symbols are on, it'll produce a symbol here. So if this is on and this is on, it'll take a signal out here. And this inverter, it'll take an off signal and convert it to an on signal, and an on signal and convert it to an off signal. And a delay, it would be like a repeater, a redstone repeater, and it does exactly what it does. It does a delay. When you're doing logic gates, you have to think very logically. That's why they call it a logic gate. So you have to think, for example, if wood is detected, and get why it's called an AND gate, and if lever is on, do operation. And I even wrote conditions down here and stuff. I'll go through that later. So basics is that master control's on, wood is detected, converted into a pulse, master switch is on, goes into sustain, which will turn a short signal into a long signal, or if you put inverter in front of that, a long signal into a short signal. And what this does is it will put down the saw for X amount of time, which you can control in the sustain. It's called max sustain because I have it up all the way. I don't think I have it up all the way. I think I have it on 10 or 11 setting now. Yeah. And what this does is it'll time your saw to go down and then come back up. And it's very, very, very simple system right here. Extremely simple. Like, this here is not very expensive. And this is pretty much all you need for your system. But if you want to go above and beyond, what you can do is you can add hatches to it. Now this is the exit hatch. Yes, the exit hatch. And luckily I highlighted all of these in red. Once again, if you want to get these pictures, they're on my Twitter, and I'll come back to this one right now and go conditions for the operation. If wood is censored in this position, which is this one right here. If wood is sensed there, convert into pulse. If wood is censored in the cutting position, if the master control is on, the saw will be operated for X amount of time, determined by the sustainer, and then the saw will go back up. Very simple. Very simple. Logic gates are so easy. So easy. If you have a logical mind like mine. A lot of people don't know that about me. Now here's the exit hatch system, and I've tweaked this a little bit with a couple timers and a couple more AND gates to make sure it works all the time, but this is the basics. So if wood is censored in the exit or cutting position, which I called it before, and the saw has run through the cycle, which means this wire right here is black. It's not on. Then the hatch will open, and the hatch will stay open for 3 extra ticks, determined by the delay. So if you have wood here, and if the saw is off, wood here, this turns blue, this turns blue, this turns blue, as long as this is off. Very simple exit system. Very, very, very simple exit system. This whole thing is simple. And here is our entry system, which is probably the thing I've changed the most. So, as long as there's no wood sensed inside the system, nothing sensed from here, inverter right there, a new piece of wood will enter. And if wood is detected inside the system, no new wood will enter the system. I changed this a little bit because I had to add a timer here when I added timers to my saws because I wanted there to be a little bit of a delay. But this is the basic principle. Basic, so basic. This is so easy right here. And now this is the part where it gets a little bit harder. But bear with me because this is not quite as organized as I can make it. This is if you add an extra lever to your system. This is if you add an extra control to your system. And I know that this looks complex, but it's just adding a second system inside your current system. And logic gates are very easy if you want them to produce only one task. And that's all you have to do. If you want size 4 wood, you can just come back to this, and you don't even have to put it on a belt. Okay, well, you have to put it on a belt because then the saw will kind of kill itself if it's not on a belt. So what you do here is, if you add an extra saw, you have to add an extra sustainer, you have to add an extra A and D gate, and this AND gate, it will hook up to your already being used system. So you hook up an extra AND gate, an extra sustainer, an extra saw, extra lever. This lever and your previous system will go into the AND gate, and then it will be sustained, and then it will operate the saw. And if you keep these wires separated, this wire and this wire separated, this one coming away from the saw will come into this inverter, and this one will come into this inverter, and then here is our previous exit system. If you have another wire running off there to this AND gate, so inverter, AND gate, and then that loops around here to this AND gate. Another AND gate, that's just because we added 2 saws. This is the same AND gate from before. It will trigger a signal going to this delay, which will open the door. And it'll keep it open for 3 extra ticks. Right now I have it open for 12 extra ticks once again because I made this a little bit more of a timing-based system. Mostly because I wanted my wood to be lined up on its own. And you can use funnels and all kinds of stuff for that. But that's the basics of this whole system. Now, thankfully Daniel's been doing some extra wood for me. What size have you been cutting this at? Are these 6 and is this an 8? 3? Oh, they go by multiples of 2. Third lever. These all 6 because this looks like an 8 right here. Also separate the tailings from the regular ones. And by tailings I mean if a chunk of wood comes through, what's going to end up being your construction piece is everything between the saw and this hatch. Because that's how the measurement works. And watch it for a second. You see the saws are going to come down now. So you see everything between the saw and the hatch, that's the piece that you're going to be using to build. Now this should be a size 4 piece. This would be your tailing. And if you throw that to the side, this should be a perfect size 4 piece. And if you want to quickly check that, and I'm not going to build this wall, I just want to show you 50% right there. 50%, 50%, 50%. You'll never have to waste any wood again with this system. Now, I said this earlier, and I can't stress it enough, because this doesn't work unless if you do this. When you go to your sawmill, you have to make it X2, Y1. Why? Because this takes the wood, and it puts it in a... I guess you could also do it 1-1. But that's no fun. These are planks. They're not bricks or squares. So if you make it 2-1, 2-to-1 ratio, that means that the plank is at the right size to be turned into the right piece without having to be messing with 50 quadrillion, million, billion, dillion, quintillion. There, quintillion. That's an actual number. Yeah? Decimal points. Which is what computers do, but it's not very good for the human mind to try to stomach, and it won't be good for your building. You can try to get 33.33333% woods, but your best bet is to just stay with 2-1. And for some reason, it does not work if you do it at a ratio of 2-1. It has to be 2-1 exactly. So, for example, once this piece of blue wood's out, that's worth more than your life. If I made it 2-8, and if I made it 1-4, that would not work. It has to be 2-1. Very important. Okay. Doot. Now, what do I want to build with this blue wood? No, I think that I'm going to turn my blue wood into computer screens. So what I'm going to do is place down this tile right here. This right here, this requires 1 wood. You might think it's a problem because our system right now only handles in multiples of 2. But what we can do is switch the system to 2s. And problem with not using lasers, but still, once again, cheaper alternative. Take these out. And I hate to do this to you, blue wood, but it's completely necessary. You take 2 chunks of blue wood, and you put those in the detectors. Detectors are also great for a sorting system, which is going to be probably my next project. And then my next project will be an automatic loader. Pie's a geek. Since he started playing Lumber Tycoon, Pie has become a geek. If you rotate it around a bit and have it against a surface to line up with. Whoop. And this is blue wood, the most rare, it's the rarest wood in the game. So you definitely don't want to be wasting this for construction. And it's very hard to get to blue wood. It's in the middle of a cave, which is a huge giant system, and there is a map for it, but it's not a very good map. And the map might get you banned or something, because there's not supposed to be maps. Now I'm gonna sit and pray now that the system doesn't want to crap itself right now. And I've tested this the whole time. And Daniel, have you experienced any problems with it? And be honest, because this is still only version 2. Oh, Daniel left. Rip. All right. So we want to make this, and it's wood size of 1. So we line it up, and the system will do its magic. Goes right up against the end. Saws come down. Wood starts to cut. This is cutting at size 2, by the way. Oh gosh, please don't cut extra. Sometimes that does happen. The wood tends to pop up. Oh! That also happens. Sometimes your system will try to double trigger itself. That's because there's not much of a delay, although there is a measure to take care of that. Now, the saws didn't turn it into perfect size pieces, probably because there's a little bit of lag in the server while I'm recording. But here we go. We got our size 2 pieces right here. But wait, you're saying, this one requires a size 1 piece of wood. Well, no problem. We cut that, and I hope this works. I haven't tested it. 67%. Okay, well, let's try to cut it down the middle this time. And if it doesn't work, I'll use this in a size 2. When you're cutting very, very, very small pieces of wood, here we go, this would work. When you're cutting very small pieces of wood, sometimes the game tries to crap itself. And you see right there, 94%, the game is crapping itself. Because these tiles are very, 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 very small. But when we're using 94% in these tiny numbers, we're still saving so much wood. And you see right there, one of the mechanics it does is that when you're working with these small pieces, if you chop it down the middle, one side is going to be bigger than the other side. Not always fun. I'm not worried about wasting this much blue wood. I'd be worried about wasting this whole chunk of blue wood. But I'm not worried about this tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. We stick that there, and that should automatically complete. So there, you're wasting as little wood as possible. And the bigger it gets, the bigger size piece you get, for example, size 8s, which are these, and I've been working, or not these, but these, and I've been working with them all day. System works very, very, very well, and I love it. I really do love it. This is my baby right here. Alright? Did I miss anything, guys? I said everything, right? Okay, if they're being quiet, that means I did it. So a little bit of a recap. Once again, I'll put up these pictures for you guys. They're on my Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Not because I need more followers on Twitter, but because it's a good way to relay this kind of information, see funny pictures, and convey any upcoming news or other information. Whoop. Application preview cannot be opened. Jesus Christ, everything's breaking on me today except this machine. By the way, that was operator error when that one ended up being 67% or something. That was my fault. This is the system from an up-top view, and here I am cutting the birch wood I was using to build my base with. It's a very, very, very good system. Now, I know you're not going to like the cost, right? But one thing about this is that you don't need a system as elaborate as mine. You can just make yours. Honestly, I'd make mine just an 8. Because these big pieces, that's what you need it for. You need an 8 size wood. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's great. This system can be yours for around 90,000 cash. And the reason I don't put it on an exact number is because you can change your length, and I'm sure there are other ways where you can bring down the amount of AND gates, and I've used extra timers and stuff. Now, when I say 90,000, most of the cost goes into the detectors, which are 11,000 each, still cheaper than the lasers. They're 11,000 each, and it goes into the saws, which are 12,000 each. So if you just take the saws and you just take the detector, I'm not losing my words today, that's 48,000 from the saws and 22,000 from the detectors. That's already 70,000 cash. 70,000 cash. So much. Saws are expensive, detectors are expensive, and the rest of it, it's not super expensive. Your belts are about 500 each, and your AND gates are about 260 each, and your wires, that's the other thing. Wires are 205 a piece, and there's quite a few wires in this design, but you can decrease it by having things adjacent like this. And I'm sure there are more ways to be efficient with your wires. But yeah, it's around 90,000, and if you want me, if you're trying to build a system like this and you need some help, feel free to, if you see me in a Lumber Tycoon game, please feel free to tell me or ask if you need help, because I made this system from scratch and it still has some flaws. I'm trying to perfect it as much as I can, and you saw there it worked. It worked well, and it's working well, but there's always a way to make things better. Always. Never, ever forget that. That's how science happens. Where was I? I kind of got off topic there. Yeah, if you're trying to build this and you see me in a game, ask for help. Sometimes I won't be able to help you because I'll be in the middle of something, or I will be about to leave. But I'm happy to help you if you've really tried putting the system together and there's something that I might have messed up on with those screenshots, which shouldn't have happened because it was working fine for me. Also, this. If your system's not working, always check your wiring, because the wiring is very, 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 very finicky, especially around the saws, because sometimes it'll double trigger and other times it'll take the same pulse and put it on another wire, and working with the saws was not fun. Also, I probably should have said this earlier. A lot of alsos here. What else did I miss? This saw right here, if you're not using a laser, you need to have this one elevated a bit, which shouldn't be a problem, because otherwise, when Ivan, get out of the way before I murder you! Because otherwise what happens is that when the saw goes down, or this saw goes down rather, the wood detector is blocked by it, and sometimes that'll cause... No, I'm not even going to show you guys, but sometimes it'll cause your system to... You know what? I will show you guys what it does. But I won't show you guys what it does with the blue wood. Yeah, the hardest part for the system is just getting the pieces of logs in. So I'll understand if you want to use lasers for it. If you use a laser for it, just make sure to use an inverter.
I'm so hot.
Because when you use a laser, it reverses the operation of the wood detector. I'm going to show why you can't have a... Okay, alright, this is gonna have to be timed just right. I'm gonna show why you need to have your thingy-mabobby, your saw raised. This is what happens if the thingy's blocked, if your wood detector is blocked by the saw. Your hatch will not open. And if it's at the right timing, then your saws will go and never stop. But it looks like I created a failsafe for that somehow. I'll have to check into that. So if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I read all the comments. I read every last comment you guys post. I don't reply to a lot of them, but I do read them.
I'm so hot. Unbelievable.
If you guys want to see Lumber Tycoon as a, well, not necessarily as a series, but as a like checkpoint based system where I come back every once in a while and show you guys what progress I've made, please leave a like for that and post it down in the comments. Let other people know about it. Alright, that's it. Leave a like, it really helps out. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. See you guys next time.